I've been involved with the Life Model and Thrive and gaining relational skills since 2005. I first read Living from the Heart Jesus Gave You, and then was blessed enough to run down to California and get to participate in a process with Jim Wilder and Chris Coursey as they explored how to teach relational skills. Well, now I'm very happy to say that the whole team, Jen and Chris Coursey, and all of the people related with them in their program, have gotten very good at teaching how to gain relational skills. And then you get to incorporate them into your life. And that includes your work, your play, raising your children, relating to your family. I've been able to use what I've learned with everybody everywhere I go. And in particular, when COVID hit and we all had to isolate and be secluded, I was able to help people return to joy, to understand telling stories that really help us connect and reconnect with God. So we have this flow of life-giving processes going on that help us regain our joy when we're suffering. It's quite a journey. So I want to thank Chris and Jen. I want to thank all the people involved. And I encourage everybody, get curious. Go find out about it. Do a Thrive track. Learn about your identity. Read some books. Joy Switch. The 19 skills. There's lots of options to find out more about how this works. All of it is good. All of it will change your life and the lives of everybody around you.
I've enjoyed the opportunity to bring Thrive Today's brain relational skills into the business arena. I lead a global team, and as I started cultivating these skills, I started showing up differently in business than I had before I had these skills. And the results have been mind boggling and include a transformed business culture to a high joy culture. And the results are undeniable as the team started breaking company records in production results quarter after quarter. That was not even my end goal, but it was an amazing result while I merely focused on being glad to be with my people, building joy with them, and modeling quiet and other skills. I remember one time when one of my leaders in India became very ill and was isolated. And because of these skills, I had come to understand the power of merely being together, glad to be together, quiet with no agenda. So I reached out to him and I messaged him and I requested to visit him. And he replied, "You mean come to India?" To which I replied, "No, I mean visit you by video call, but I called it a visit because we're not going to talk about business." So he agreed. And I told him I merely wanted him to relax and focus on breathing. And I just wanted to be present with him so that he was not suffering alone, but with me there with him. So he really appreciated that. And he just relaxed and focused on his breathing. And we sat in silence for about an hour. It was a long time. And he just focused on breathing. And we were glad to be together. And he ended up being fine. You know, in business relationships, this was not something I would have done in the past. I wouldn't have known that it's okay to just be together and quiet and not have an agenda. That would have felt awkward in the past. But it was very powerful, and he was grateful. And he even offered to sit with me quietly on video after that one time when I became ill. So that's just one of countless examples of ways that I've shifted how I show up with my people in business. And now that I've cultivated the brain relational skills that Thrive Today has trained me in. So this journey with Thrive Today has been truly life changing for me, not only personally, but also in business.
And the skill that I've used to impact other people, I think a clear one really is just the skill of learning to see as Jesus sees in all situations. And specifically, it's happened with our daughter who's in college. She has a really hard major. It's math, applied science. I don't know how she does it. And so she has a lot of pressure. She feels that pressure, and she was having that, plus some other things happen. And I was talking to her, and my wife and I, we said, and we had taught her around the Emmanuel journaling process and stuff, and she had tried it a few times, but we said, it'd be great to get Jesus's eyes on what's making you feel so anxious, and just see what his perspective is. And so she started doing that and didn't really tell us that she'd been doing it over and over and over again. And I asked her once, and she goes, yeah, I've started doing that regularly, and it's just amazing how much peace I get after I talk to Jesus about things that are stressing me out. And she said also, I had no idea how much God loved me until I could actually hear it from him himself. And so that's pretty special as a parent to have our daughter taking advantage of something that we had learned and passed on to her.
I'm going to start with the 4+ story. I'm a mental health therapist. I'm Betty Lacine. This is Dan Lacine. And I work with children in divorced families quite often. And so I had this very narcissistic father who didn't think the child needed therapy. He was very challenging and antagonistic toward me. He would demand to come in and see me and then didn't think he should pay for the time I spent with him. He went to his pediatrician, the child's pediatrician, to try to get the pediatrician to say the child didn't need therapy, but the therapist knew who I was and recommended very strongly that the child continue in therapy with me. And so it was just a difficult situation. When I knew I was going to meet with him, I would not sleep that night very well, and I would have a feeling of dread and just my stomach would be in knots, and I would just maybe have a headache. I just would feel terrible on that day just from the stress of knowing I was going to have to confront and be with this man in my office. And so I just asked the Lord to show me him in a new way, to look for the gold in him, to see that he was really a wounded person and probably a wounded child. And that's why he came across the way that he did. And so I was able to be kind and gracious to him, and when he was in my office, I just tried to build rapport with him as best I could and not rise to any of the challenges he was doing against me. And then God gave me a way to handle him, because he did not want to pay for any sessions. And so I told this father that if he would do a 15-minute phone call with me, then there would be no charge. And so he stopped coming in my office altogether and just started doing the 15-minute phone calls. So it was a total win all the way around.
I use the synchronization activities with my soccer teams. We do warm-ups, exercise warm-ups, which a 7 or 12-year-old does not need to do, but I use it as a synchronization activity. So we all try to do the same exercise at the same time. Everybody at the same time, do our jumping jacks equally, so we match each other, and that helps our brain to synchronize with one another. So the teams really develop a lot of team spirit and team cohesiveness through those synchronization activities. We also teach them some of the calming things, to calm yourself down, and deep breathing. And I see some of the girls doing that during a game or something when they get upset or angry, and that really helps them calm. And it's a really good tool to use to calm themselves. And finally, joy was not what we thought it was. It's not just happy or laughing. It's I'm glad to be with you. So we've passed that on to our kids and our grandkids. And when we see each other, we say, I'm glad to be with you.
I'm glad to be with you too.
So we encourage you to try those even on people that are your coworkers or friends, and that will increase the joy in their lives too.
Yep, I work in a commercial construction environment, construction management, in a COVID and post-COVID world where lead times are tremendous. Supply chain issues affect everybody. Wants everything done and they want it now, and there's so much conflict and potential conflict every day. But simply taking the time to use really all 19 brain skills in my own life, and then to share them among teams of owners, architects, and contractors, subcontractors, and employees, have consistently made it so all of us are working on the same team. And then in my own conflict with people about taking a breath, again, using skills and bringing a spirit of peace into myself and into the room, um, it is really, I mean, as a company, it's given us great competitive advantage. Not that that's why we do it. We do it because we want to bring about peace and create happy places for people to work and live and play. And so there, it's been great for me.
Wow. And, we were missionaries in Uruguay for 18 years, and we were seeking how do we be church this way? How do we be church in a way that's relational and viral? And when we came across the relational skills before we went to Thrive, I think I felt inadequate. I felt like there were things that coming at us that we didn't know how to handle, a lot of things coming at us. And after all of our Thrive training, I really felt like, wow, I think I can tune into Jesus, first of all, and listen to him like never before. And it gave me just not a platform, but a structure of understanding, a model for understanding human development and spirituality that really helped me feel like find my feet in any situation whatsoever. So that was very powerful. And for me, it's led to working with Luke 10, a leadership training organization, and how to be church with the relational skills. So I've been able, and Matt and others, lots of other Thrivers are now in Luke 10, being church this way and training people in how to really connect heart to heart with each other and with God together in a way that really is what we think Christ designed the body of Christ to do and be together. So Thrive gave us a whole different lens for church planting, and we're super excited to be able to share that with the world.
Hello, Dr. Karl Lehman here. I wish my wife Charlotte could also be with me, but she's totally swamped at the moment, so I'm representing both of us. So how have maturity skills affected our lives? One big piece is just understanding, just knowing about maturity skills and understanding that that's a part of the puzzle has been huge. There have been hundreds of situations over the last 20 years where there'd be some difficulty, some issue, some problem situation we were trying to address. And sometimes we would think, okay, there's just a lack of information. We provide some additional teaching, we'd explain something, didn't fix the problem. We would say maybe there's triggering, maybe there's implicit memory playing. We would address that possibility, we would do healing work, problem would still not resolve. And before we understood maturity skills, before we realized that some of the time, some of the situations, the problem is the person is missing a necessary maturity skill, we'd just be baffled. We would try the other tools we used, and oftentimes they would work, but there would be a certain percentage of situations where we'd provide additional information, we would do healing work, and the problem would still remain. And then when we learned about maturity skills and how that fit in and how that's another piece of the pie, we would realize, oh, a bunch of those situations, the problem is the person is missing the necessary maturity skill. When we figured that out, when we recognized that that was the problem and addressed that piece of the puzzle, that piece of the pie, the problem would finally resolve. And like I said, there have been hundreds of situations over the past 20 years where that has been profoundly helpful. Recognizing, the maturity skill part of the pie, that's the piece that's missing here. That's the piece we need to address. Thank you, Jesus. That has been so profoundly helpful. And then a specific maturity skill, one that has been particularly helpful for Charlotte and I, is being able to recognize when our relational circuits are off and then knowing how to deliberately bring them back online. That has been huge. That has affected our marriage. Every relationship in our lives has been affected by being able to recognize when our relational circuits go off and then deliberately bring them back online. And again, that has changed our lives, blessed our marriage, and has blessed every relationship we've been a part of. So we are profoundly grateful for knowing about and mastering and being able to apply that maturity skill on a regular basis.
I suppose the biggest thing about using relational life skills is that when I see others and they obviously are lacking some of those skills, I don't take it personal and I can stay relational without going into enemy mode. I suppose by learning them, I recognize what is and what isn't in others. And it helps me have compassion and grace and mercy for the people around me.
When I was teaching in Morocco, 4th grade, I taught the kids about relational circuits, using the analogy of driving with their headlights on, dim, or off. and how it could hurt someone else or hurt themselves. Well, one day we were coming back from the library and the kids were really rambunctious, and I noticed my relational circuits, or I noticed my body just kind of tensing up and myself getting more annoyed and just kind of heating up, my body just getting hot. And one of my students turned to me and said, "Miss, are your relational circuits off?" And the minute she asked me, I could feel them just pop on. And it's like, wow, this is so cool that she understood what relational circuits were and that she could tell an adult and ask an adult, are your circuits on? So I asked her, what are you noticing? And she told me. Well, later a couple weeks later, towards the end of the year, we were discussing relational circuits, reviewing it. She was madly writing something, drawing at her desk. And I was like, oh man, I wish you could contribute to the conversation. And I let it go. She came up to me afterwards and said, "Miss," and she whispered this, "Miss, don't show anybody." And what it said was 10 ways to get your relational circuits on when they are off. And she listed 10 items, and some she made up and some what we were discussing. And that was so satisfying, kind of like this huge sense of wonder and satisfaction that even one child understood and got it.
The first year after we returned from the first track one of Thrive, I began to talk about some of the concepts and things we were learning. And one of our elders came to me and said, "It feels to me like you've run away and joined a brain cult." And he said that sort of jokingly, but not jokingly. He stayed in a relationship with us. We stayed in a relationship with him. He's still our elder today, one of our elders today. But it began a 10-year process of him beginning to say to me, I see a difference in you. I see maturity that I haven't seen before. There were times during these years where he was sick and unable to come to church because of various health problems. And I continued to reach out to him and love him and support him during those times. Now, today, 10 years later, he is finishing up the second year of journey groups with me and fully immersed in learning the various maturity skills, asking me questions about how I do things. When he realizes that I am acting on the skills that I have learned, he is telling me, he says, "Listen, I was against all of this way inside, and I was sort of pushing against it. But after seeing the changes in you and us interacting together, I understand the scriptural basis of what is going on here. And I fully embrace it. I want you to know that I'm fully in." And so now he is one of my teaching elders. He often teaches and weaves in what he is learning into his teaching of the scriptures. And God is in the process of transforming him and bringing healing to his family. And he has told me, "You may use my story of what God has done over this time." And so it's one of those stories where both of us have grown and both of us have learned as we have been tender towards one another's weakness and loving one another and caring for one another as brothers in Christ.
Yeah, the relational skills that we've learned over the last decade plus have absolutely transformed how we do ministry, and as well as our home life and our family. It's transformed our marriage. We have seen just amazing changes in our children, but it's amazing how we get to pass these skills along. People see them in us and they want to know more about it. They want to know where we learned that. And so we get to share with them in our premarital counseling that we do with couples. We get to share the skills with them in marriage counseling with couples, and in recovery ministry as we work with both men and women overcoming things in their lives. They're able to use and understand maturity And relational skills are the thing that is helping them to be able to recover quicker and more effectively in their own lives. So that's been it's just been an absolute joy to take what we've learned and be able to pass it along to others and see transformation happen in their lives as well.
I use the relational skills to impact other people as I lead my groups during the week, and I facilitate a manual, and occasionally I hold workshops. And I've seen significant changes in families as parents grow in maturity and use the skills. The dearest relationships that I've used and taught the skills to are some of my grandchildren. In different ways, each of them needed healing and stability in their lives. Now they know how to quiet, to seek Jesus in everything, and to live from their hearts. And they even spread the joy they've found and the skills they've learned to those around them.
I used relational skills to impact my infant grandson. The relational skills of noticing signs of overwhelm and taking a breather has been really lovely. And also sharing joy and climbing Joy Mountain. Those two paired together have been so much fun as a grandma for me to use with him. And I'm specifically thinking about when he was about maybe 9 months old. I was holding him and greeting him, and we were glad to be together. And I was holding him, so we were face to face, and we were smiling. And then he would look away, and I would look away. And then he would look back at me, and we would smile together again. And then he would look away, and I would look away. And it's like a game for him. And it is that joy mounting of we're glad to be together, and also noticing the all-important pause. It has really benefited me, and we have a secure love relationship.
Hi, I'm Amy Brown. And it's interesting, but one of the ways that I have used relational skills that has impacted other people, and perhaps one of the ways more people have told me that I've had an impact on them, is messing up and being okay with it. I have learned to accept the momentary shame of messing up, of maybe making somebody unhappy with me, or just when I make a mistake, and to stay in calm and peaceful through that, and being aware that my value doesn't come from my ability to perform. And so it's been amazing to me over a number of years how many people have said to me, you know what, it really made a big impact on me when you messed that situation up and you stayed calm and you stayed relational and you were able to stay yourself in it. And that's been helpful. So I just love, because all of us make mistakes, all of us mess up. I just love that even the way that we mess up and the way that we make mistakes and how we respond to that can have a positive impact on other people. So that's one of the reasons I'm so thankful for the relational skills offered by Thrive today.
Hi, my name's Sandy Coursey. I've been with Thrive from day one, and I have to tell you, I'm so thankful and so grateful to the Lord for planting this beautiful Thrive garden into our family and yours. I'm so thankful to the Wilders and how the Lord used them to plant and grow an international healing community using the Living from the Heart Jesus Gave You book to develop a ministry called Thrive Today. Thanks to Jim and Kitty's mentoring, guidance, love, and direction, Chris and Jen were well equipped to take this community to another level of growth and development. Because of this little seed planted 20 years ago, they were able to grow and receive healing for themselves and to make significant changes in how they would build their marriage and raise their own little garden. And as for me and how I use these skills, it's amazing at how it transforms your relationships. It's built a stronger marriage. It's built a stronger relationship with the people that I love. It's just an amazing ministry. And I just am so thankful to be a part of it.